We do not invest in victims, we invest in survivors. In ways in both big and small, the narrative of the victim shapes the way we see a woman. You can't count on things you don't see, and we don't invest in what's invisible to us. But this is the face of resilience. 6 years ago, I set out to write a compelling economic story, one that had great characters and that no one else was telling, and one that I thought mattered. And that turned out to be women. At the TEDx Women Conference in New York on December 1st, 2011, Lemon Gale, a reporter, sets out to pursue her dreams in economics, but instead turns to women entrepreneurs. Found on TED Talks, Women Entrepreneurs, Examples, Not Exceptions, by Lemon Gale. I had left ABC News and a career I loved at the age of 30 for business school, a path I knew nothing about. Most of the women I had grown up with in Maryland had not gone to college, let alone thought of business school. But they had hustled to their feet to feed their kids and pay their rent, and at a young age I saw that having a good job and earning a decent living made the biggest difference in families who were struggling. So if you're going to talk about jobs, you must talk about entrepreneurs. And if you're going to talk about entrepreneurs during and after conflict, you must talk about women, because they are the population that you have left. Rwanda in the aftermath of the genocide was 77% female. I want to introduce you to some of these women and what they have taught me over the years. I went to Afghanistan in 2005 to work on a Financial Times piece, and there I met Camille, a young woman who had just turned down a job offering by the international community that would pay her nearly $2,000 a month, an astronomical amount in that context. She turned it down, she said, because she was going to start her very next business, an entrepreneurship consultancy that will teach business skills to men and women all around Afghanistan. Business, she said, was critical to her country's future, because long after this round of international slips, business will keep her country peaceful and secure. Business was also very important for women, because earning an income and respect and money was power for women. So I was amazed. I mean, here was a girl who never lived in peacetime to sound like a candidate for the presidents. So I asked her, how in the world do you know so much about business and what keeps you so passionate? And she said, oh, Gail, this is actually my third business. My first business was a dressmaking business under Taliban, and that was an excellent business, because we provide jobs for women all around the neighborhood, and that's how I really became an entrepreneur. Think about this. Here were girls who braved danger to become breadwinners at times in which they couldn't be on the streets, at a time of economic collapse where they sold baby dolls and shoelaces just to survive. These girls made the difference between survival and starvation. Everywhere I went, I met incredibly interesting entrepreneurs that no one seemed to know about nor wished to. I went on to Bosnia, and early on with my interviews, I met with an IMF official who said to me, you know, Gail, I don't think we have a women business in Bosnia, but there is a lady selling cheese nearby. Maybe you can go and interview her. So I stood out interviewing that day, and there I met Narcissa, who was on the point of opening up her very own factory in the war-torn frontline Sarajevo. She had started her business squatting in an old abandoned garage sewing sheets and pillowcases, just so that she could take them to markets and sell around the city, just to support the 12 or 13 family members counting on survival. By the time we went, she had 20 employees already working for her, most of which were women. This was just the start. I met women running essential oil businesses, wineries, factories, and even the world's largest advertising agency. Everywhere I go, I meet incredibly interesting entrepreneurs who are seeking access to finance, access to markets, and establishing business networks. They are often ignored because it is much harder to give a $50,000 loan than it is to give a $500 loan. As the World Bank recently noted, women are stuck in a productivity trap. Those with small businesses can't get the capital they need to expand, and those in micro business can't grow out of it. I was recently at the State Department in Washington, and there I met an incredibly passionate entrepreneur from Ghana. She sells chocolates. She had come to Ghana not seeking access to finance and not seeking a handout. She had come seeking serious investment dollars so that she could buy the factory and buy the equipment she needs to export her chocolates to Africa, Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and far beyond. Capital that will help her employ more than 20 people she has working for her, and capital that will help her own country's economic climate. Recently, it has become very much in fashion to call women the emerging market or the emerging market. And I think that's wonderful. You know why? And I say this as someone who's worked in finance. More than $500 billion has gone to the emerging market in the past decade, because investors saw the potential at a time of slowing economic growth, and so they created products tailored to the emerging market. How wonderful will it be if we place all of our lofty goals with our wallets and invested $500 billion unleashing women's potential? Just think of all the advances when it comes to jobs, productivity, mortality, child nutrition, literacy, and much, much more. Oftentimes I get into very interesting conversations with reporters who say to me, Gail, these are great stories, but these are just the exceptions. That makes me pause and think for a moment. First of all, for the exceptions, there are lots of them and they're important. And secondly, when we think about men who are succeeding, we think of them as icons or pioneers or innovators to be emulated. And when we think about women who are succeeding, we think of them as aberrations to be ignored or exceptions to be dismissed. And finally, there is no country in all the world that has not changed except by its most exceptional. So why wouldn't we value these job creators and change makers rather than to overlook them? This topic of resilience is very important to me and has many ways helped shape my life. My mother was a single mother who worked the phone company during the day and sold Tupperware at night, just to give me every opportunity possible. We shopped double coupons in layaway and consignment stores, and when she got sick with stage 4 breast cancer, we even applied for food stamps. When I would feel sorry for myself as 9 or 10-year-old girls do, she would say to me, "My dear, on a scale of major world tragedies, yours is not a 3. And when I was applying to business school and thought I could no longer do this, I went to my aunt who had survived years of beatings at the hand of her husband and escaped the marriage with only her dignity intact. And she said to me, never import other people's limitations. And when I would complain to my grandmother, a World War II veteran who had worked the film industry for 50 years and had supported me from the age of 13, that I would know that if I turned down a plum assignment for ABC for a fellowship overseas, I would never, ever, ever get another job. And she said to me, "Kiddo, I'm going to tell you 2 things. First of all, no one turns down a full rep. And secondly, McDonald's is always hiring. You'll find a job. Take the lead." The women in my family are not exceptions. The women in this room and all around the world are not exceptions. We are not a social interest group. We are the majority. And for far too long we've underestimated ourselves and been undervalued by others. It is time for us to think bigger and to employ more and to invest more when it comes to women all around the world. We can make a difference. And make a difference not just for women, but for a global economy that desperately needs our contributions. Together, we can make the so-called exception rule. When we change the way we see ourselves, others will follow. And it is time for us to think